Another warm welcome to Mentoring with Transparency. This is your host, Diana Fumbilwa, and I'm a coach, speaker, trainer, and pastor. Welcome back this week as we continue the boundary series. Today we'll be exploring how to build healthy boundaries. As we look into this very relevant topic, I encourage you, grab a pen and invite a friend and let's learn together. Stay tuned. Welcome back. So let's dive straight into our segment today, and we are talking about how to build healthy boundaries. So the first thing is that healthy boundaries allow an individual to, number one, have high self-esteem and self-respect. Whenever you feel disrespected or your self-respect has gone down or been knocked down, then a boundary has been crossed. Number two is that a healthy boundary will always allow you to share personal information gradually in a mutually sharing and trusting relationship. So we always warn people about oversharing. Don't just go and rant and vent to people that won't even care to help you come out of the situation. We encourage people to process through talking through things. But what I'm saying is that there is a thin line between oversharing and actually getting things off your chest. So when it comes to boundaries, there is a danger that you can be sharing too much. You've just met a person in the supermarket and you're talking about groceries and how that the prices are going up, and all of a sudden this person begins to talk to you about their breakup with their fiancé, for example. That becomes irrelevant and unnecessary for that stranger to hear. If you are the kind of person that comes into someone else's space and begins to share very deep and personal things, you are not just exercising an unhealthy boundary. You may be crossing that other person's boundary by forcing them to hear information that they don't want to hear. So in an unhealthy boundary situation, we saw that a person just bombards people and begin to overshare things that are beyond the level of relationship. But in a healthy boundary situation, here you share your personal information gradually. As you begin to know the person, you begin to share even more. So a healthy boundary will always be gradual in expression of private things. So you open your door bit by bit into your private life. Another thing is that you protect your physical and emotional space from intrusion. Any boundary that is healthy will protect your personal space from intrusion. You will not allow every Jim and Jack to enter your private life. Now, if people don't understand how much you've invested in building your life to the place where you are today, they will easily violate you. They will easily belittle your achievements. They will belittle your level of relationship with others, simply because they don't understand how much investment has gone into that relationship. Anything that feels intrusive to you or emotionally violating is a signal that a boundary needs to be erected in that space. And a healthy boundary makes sure that those feelings are eliminated by virtue of that boundary being present in that space. Another characteristic of a healthy boundary is that you are assertive and confidently and truthfully able to say yes or no and be okay when others say no to you. So in a healthy relationship where boundaries are healthy, when you say no, the person you're saying no to must be okay with it. But it also goes to say that if they say no to you, you must be okay with that. Usually people don't just say no for entertainment or for the sake of saying no. They have a reason behind their no, and it's usually based on what they value. Remember, I talked about boundaries being built on the values that you uphold. So if their values are telling them to say no to what you're asking them to do, honor that, because then that is respectful for a healthy relationship. Healthy boundaries also separate your needs, thoughts, feelings, and desires from others. So it recognizes that your boundaries and needs are different from others. This one can cause a lot of issues in a marriage setting where you expect your spouse to think the same way you think. You expect your children to act the same way you expect them to act. Understand, like I said before, that people's boundaries are different because our values are different. Which brings me to this point. When people say they don't like something, believe them. If people say something is important to them, believe them. Do not try to negotiate them out of their boundaries. Do not try to make them begin to think like you. Your values are yours. It's your personal values. And they have their own personal values that make them feel safe. Our levels of comfort are very different. I can be comfortable in a certain space that makes other people totally uncomfortable. So I need to be aware that other people's boundaries differ from mine. And this is where now learning what other people's boundaries are comes into play. When you're a person that is self-aware, you will endeavor to be aware of other people's needs as well. And the last one that signifies that a boundary is healthy is that it empowers you to make healthy choices and take responsibility for yourself. So you're no longer in the hands of another person, busy dictating what you should do, what time you should wake up, what time you should go to sleep, what friends you should have, what you should wear on Monday, what you should even say. You are now responsible for your own life. And when you build boundaries, understand that they come with responsibility. So even as you are closing off and building a fence around you in terms of boundaries and creating that area of safety, be aware that you are responsible for everything that happens within that boundary. When you build boundaries, be responsible. If things go wrong within the confines of the boundaries that you have set, take responsibility and begin to think of, so how can I adjust my boundaries for them to protect me better? Those are the things you should be thinking about if your boundaries are not working for you. And if you find that even after creating boundaries, things are still feeling uncomfortable, you're still feeling violated, look at the boundaries you've set. Are they serving the purpose for which you have put them there? Because if you just set up boundaries that are just there so you can tell people, oh, I have boundaries around the time I go to sleep, so I sleep at 10 p.m. Yeah, that's my boundary. If that boundary doesn't give you good sleep and in the morning you're not productive, then you might be thinking about maybe working later and waking up earlier. I, for one, am not a morning person, okay? If I have to start early, I will do it. If I can avoid it, I will not. I am more awake at night, so I'm more productive at night. I can work into the small hours of the morning. So I can't set a boundary around going to bed at 10 p.m., for example, because I'm working right into, 11 p.m. somewhere there. And I know the health people out there are going to come for me and say that is unhealthy. I'm very aware of that. And there are days that I go to bed early. But I know my own level of productivity and where it happens. It happens mostly in the evenings. So I capitalize on the evenings and I do my best work then. All the work that needs focus, I do them in the evening. In the morning, I'm pretty much operating at 50%, at most 75% until about 10 a.m. But meet me at 9 p.m. or I am full of ideas, I'm just on top of things and I'm productive to the max. So if what you have set around you is just a replica of another person's boundary, but it's not serving the protection that you need, and it's not producing what you put the boundary there for, then it's time to set another boundary. So having said all that, here is what you do to set healthy boundaries. Number one, you need to be self-aware. Self-awareness helps you to understand and know what your specific and unique needs are. And so you build the boundaries around what you need and not what you think people need you to be. The second thing is that you need to give yourself permission to actually build boundaries around your life. When you have good boundaries, you will not build resentment within you. When you don't have boundaries and people make you do things that you don't want to do, you become resentful. So give yourself permission to build boundaries. Boundaries should be built around self-care. The goal of boundaries is to better care for yourself. Any boundary that does not point to the fact that you are showing yourself kindness is not a boundary you should be exploring. Any boundary that is bordering on lack of self-care is not a boundary you should be interested in building. You need to also start small. Know that you can't just build astronomical boundaries that people go, whoa, who are you? You take people aback. It's like yesterday we were able to come to your house, and spend 5 hours chatting and doing nothing. And today you are saying we need to go after just an hour. So start small. So if the boundary is, okay, I've been spending too much time doing nothing, eating popcorn and binge watching Netflix, and I need to use my time for better things, you can start by saying to your mates, look, today we're going to hang out on my place. We're going to watch a movie, but instead of 5 hours today, we're going to do 3 hours. Just do one movie and we are done. We can do the rest another time. So you start small and start cutting down. Don't send shockwaves down your relationships. So start small and know that you can build on that slowly to ensure that it's effective for achieving what you're trying to achieve. The final thing that is very important in building healthy boundaries is that have direct communication. If you don't communicate your boundaries, I will say this again and again, and I've said it in my book, communicate your boundaries. If I don't know what you need, I won't know to give it to you. So boundaries in the same way need to be communicated, and people need to know that this is the limit. If it's a 3-hour movie, verbalize it. We're not doing 5 hours and watching 2 movies. We are doing 1 movie over a maximum of 3 hours. Be clear with your communication, and people will honor that and take you seriously, especially when you follow through with what the requirements within that boundary are. So at this point, I will just say goodbye. I love talking about boundaries because they build better people. They create a safe zone where you can be yourself and you can rest and just recuperate, regenerate, and become a better version of yourself that you can now serve back into your relationships. This has been your coach, speaker, trainer, and pastor, and I will see you next time as we continue talking about boundaries. See you.